When I think about people's misconceptions about blindness and blind people, what I find is it's an overarching belief that we're less than. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think people are intending to be mean. It's just a misunderstanding about what blind people can do or what people can do without sight. So whether it be people thinking that we can't compete in jobs in the community, that we can't be independent, we can't live on our own, it's this idea that people really can't be self-sufficient as blind people. I think people are afraid of blindness and can't imagine living their own lives without sight. And that belief then kind of affects how they see blind people. They imagine, I can't imagine doing that as a blind person, so that means it must not be. Blind people must not be able to do that. It's challenging to continue to have to feel like I have to prove myself. I have to show that I can do something, rather than just a belief that blind people can be as self-sufficient and independent as others. You know, people are amazed that, Bill and I own our own home, that, we both have jobs. And our son talks about how friends would say, wow, your parents, they must be at home and they don't have jobs. And Christopher is very fond of saying, well, my mom's an executive director and my dad works for the government. And, he is very proud to be able to say that our lives are different than people might expect blind people's lives to be. Technology has been an amazing tool for blind people. Technology has changed a lot over the last 40 years as I look at being an adolescent and now at my age of 56. And it's a double-edged sword. Technology has come a long way, and now we're using the computer alongside our sighted peers. We have talking software. Braille is more accessible than ever before, even though people believe that Braille is dead. Don't let people fool you. That is not the case. It's more powerful than ever before. But technology is moving so fast that blindness technology is always having to catch up. There have been dramatic changes in technology, and we're always trying to keep up. So, for instance, when the community moved from DOS to Windows, that was a dramatic change for the blindness field and blindness products that were having to figure out, well, how can we do a Windows environment, which was much more picture-based than text-based. And people much brighter than I figured it out. I can hardly explain it in a coherent way, but what I know is that I'm using Windows computers today very easily, but that was a dramatic challenge for us in the 90s. Because technology continues to change, however, we're always trying to catch up. And what would be ideal is if accessibility happened right out of the box. And really the best example of that is the Apple iPhone, that is something that is accessible out of the box. And if only everything was like that. So often now there are visual menus that people have to work through, whether it be on your range or washer or dryer or your TV. And for us, it's having to figure all that stuff out. Or, in my case with my husband, we had trouble just finding a range that we could work with. And people are doing menus today and having to label, but we wanted just something simple, and it was hard to find. We are very fortunate in today's world to have so much technology at our fingertips. But honestly, where technology falls short is, first of all, blindness technology is very expensive. I have a Braille display that cost me $6,000, and I purchased it because I knew it would be better for work. And I had to think about it. Okay, well, I'm buying, couldn't even buy a car with this, and I don't have to spend my money on a car, so I'll spend it on technology. So one area that definitely technology falls short is in the expense. And another area where it falls short is it's just hard to keep up with all the changes in technology. So I'm always feeling like I'm a little bit behind. One area that's a dramatic challenge is working with websites. Many websites are not very accessible, and so it can take a long time to figure out a website, get through a website, and or get the information one needs. And when I see sighted people doing that, it's like click and they have what they need, and then they can move on. So we really need some standards in website development that are across the board. And actually, there's been a law that we're trying to get passed through the ADA that there would be some standards developed, and it was initially supposed to come into play in 15, and now it's been pushed to 18. So that's kind of it's kind of discouraging how much time it can take to use a website because it's not very accessible. There are some really important technologies out there, and not only is cost sometimes a barrier, but getting the training that one needs. When somebody gets an iPhone, though it's accessible out of the box, it takes some time as a blind person to learn that. And so, do you pay $85 or $100 an hour to get that training? Do you find friends to do that? What happens with that? And there are certainly good training centers out here throughout the country, but it's a matter of accessing that training, having the money to do so, having the time to do so. The reality being that it just takes longer to learn some of the technology. Now, there are amazing tech people out there who are blind, who, that it comes naturally to them. And there are other people like myself, I use technology because it's necessary, not because I think it's fun or interesting. So, there's a longer learning curve for somebody like myself and many others. That's one of the challenges, is getting the training that one needs in a timely manner to actually use the technology available to us.